Autopilot technology has hit the road.
你而家完全放開個軚盤，佢都有自己喐緊，慢慢去調翻正個道路嚟行啦。
2016 saw car makers and tech companies vying for the most advanced autonomous driving systems and vehicles that claim to be safer than human drivers. Some drivers are already using autopilot on highways in Hong Kong, where the number of electric vehicles is growing rapidly.
In this month's Hong Kong Inquirer, we ask, is it safe to let your car drive itself in Hong Kong?
Hong Kong has seen a sharp increase in the number of electric vehicles. There was less than 100 back in 2010. By November last year, the number had grown to more than 7,000, about 1/10 of all the vehicles on Hong Kong roads. Among fans of electric vehicles is Jason Au. California car maker Tesla rolled out the Autopilot system just months before Mr. Au purchased Tesla's Model S.
我過隧道咧，我通常都會用嘅，因為隧道咧就唔會有啲cut 線，即係少啲cut線嘅情況。如果你一路揸起嚟計咧，咁啊其實真係都幾好用嘅，因為我哋揸車揸得多揸長時間咧，個電門咧你踩得多都會攰噶嘛。一架隧道通常可能係分零鐘度，咁你開咗 Autopilot， 你變咗你可以鬆一鬆隻腳，咁可以唞一唞咁樣咯。但係去到呢啲位咧，嗱，因為有兩線開始，譬如話轉到多線嘅話咧，去到有分叉位咧，佢會左揾右揾，有少少左搖右擺，唔知你行邊度嘅。所以呢個時間我都要 set 佢行翻正咗條線之後咧，先至再開翻嘅。佢呢個 Autopilot 佢唔係一個完整嘅自動駕駛咯，佢係一個屬於輔助形式咯。
Autopilot, as Tesla explained, still requires drivers to pay attention at all times rather than completely pull their hands off. But the technology itself has attracted many drivers.
This is the Tesla Model S. It's probably the most popular electric car in Hong Kong. Several thousand on the streets here. It's been here since 2014. This is the Tesla Model X. So this is a 7-seat SUV style, the latest, and this has got Autopilot 2.0, the very latest Autopilot. We've got 8 cameras, radar, ultrasonic sensors around the side. You can see here we have cameras hidden basically throughout the car. There's one here which is looking back here, obviously looking for cars overtaking and getting a view of the rear of the car. So this eventually will be capable of full self-driving. Tesla, I think, are going to start delivery before the end of this month, before Chinese New Year.
Hong Kong currently doesn't have a black and white regulation yet on using autopilot functions. While Tesla is the most common electric vehicles in the Hong Kong market, only its assisted steering, lane change, and auto car park function are allowed to be used after the Transport Department's evaluation. Whereas the summon function, which allows the vehicles moving into or out of the parking space through remote control, is restricted. Tesla's autopilot function is also disabled in most of the urban streets in Hong Kong. Mr. Au is using the function mostly on highways.
而家好似上到去呢個東區走廊咁樣啦，其實東區走廊我少試嘅，因為比較多彎，咁都可以試下啦。嗱，而家行緊70公里，咁廠方亦都建議咧，我哋咧係掂住個軚盤，因為佢本身個軚盤上面咧都有一個sensor， 即係睇下你有冇接觸到個軚盤嘅。如果長期唔接觸咧，佢亦都會提醒你，即係要求你接觸翻個軚盤，因為安全理由啦呢個。咁而家我其實咧係掂住嘅啫，佢其實個軚盤咧係自己運作緊嘅而家，好似呢啲彎咁，佢其實都轉得好順。而家佢唔會即係突然間抽啊咁樣，即係佢都跟翻人咁樣慢慢順住條路轉。咁 你需要 cut 線嗰陣時咧，你係可以打燈啦，咁佢自動咁都會 cut 一條線過隔離嗰度，行翻條直線。嗱，佢而家咧呢度斬下提你咧，你好耐冇掂過軚盤啦，你需要揸翻咧，佢自動會熄翻嘅。呢個 function 咧，如果你係有連續幾次或者太耐冇掂過軚盤咧，佢就會停咗個 Autopilot， 暫時唔俾你用住嘅，就好似罰你咁樣咯。
Car makers and tech companies, big or small, have been vying to make investments to improve autopilot technology. There are self-driving trucks and self-driving car-hailing services. China's internet giant Baidu has also gone to great lengths in developing the technology. Autopilot testing fields were opened across the country. Back in Hong Kong, passion towards electric vehicles is high thanks to tax breaks. But the Hong Kong government's rationale to limit the autopilot function is because most of the trials of the fully autonomous driving technology are still at preliminary stage. The government believes that the technology at its current state needs to advance both the hardware and software to be safe enough for drivers to use.
曾經有一次咧，我唔知佢係去救我啊，定係佢害我？點解咧？因為嗰次咧，有一晚咧，就屋企人咧好夜翻澳門翻嚟，咁想我去接佢。咁途中咧，因為可能攰啦，全部都係高速公路嚟嘅。咁我開咗個 Autopilot， 跟住自己真係瞓着咗。咁因為佢有個提示功能咧，因為聽到嘟嘟嘟嘟，跟住叫醒，跟住我睇到原來我冇擺個手喺軚盤嗰度，佢響。慶幸就係話咧，佢響呢段期間啦，瞓着咗呢段期間咧，佢真係有行到啦，自己就覺得有問題嘅地方咧，就可能其實因為佢，所以咧我就嗰個意識咧薄弱咗。我諗 Autopilot 咧都要加入一啲咧。你瞓覺我知道有啲其實而家都有啲車咧都有嘅，你瞓覺有提醒嘅，即係話可能你個眼球唔喐啊，或者係你個車有個 sensor scan 到你個狀態係靜止狀態咧，會有啲聲響會提醒翻你嘅。我諗配合翻呢樣嘢可能會好啲。
Mr. Au still believes that the autopilot is safer than drivers. In June last year, a Tesla driver died on a highway in Florida in the United States while the autopilot function was activated. The driver was in fact watching a Harry Potter movie at the time. It's the first autopilot-related death. The accident called into question people's belief that the automated driving system is safer than humans. In response, Tesla issued a statement that the accident was only the first after 130 million miles of successful autopilot driving, compared to the average fatality every 94 million miles among all vehicles in the US. But critics say the sample size of Tesla autopilot usage is so small that it cannot be compared.
The perception technology, the develop up to now, I think, is not mature enough to understand all the complexity of the driving situations.
The perception aspect used in the autopilot technology refers to the ability to detect what's happening around the car. At the moment, camera, radar, and laser are being used as sensors to detect any sort of objects around the car, while artificial intelligence technology also helps car in making the judgment.
But for rather higher level perception, for example, when people are driving, you see the car in front of you is driving left or right randomly or wavering a bit. So probably you guess maybe the driver is drunk, or maybe the driver is exhausted from the long time driving. Then you probably will be very cautious about the situation. So these are not from the direct perception from the geometrical measurements, whether there's a car in front of me. So these are from your social experience or from other higher level understanding of this context.
This higher level of perception helps humans predict what could happen next. Autopilot is supposed to be better at that than humans, but Professor Liu said the technology is not there yet to guarantee having a better judgment than a real driver.
Technically, it's easier to drive on a highway with a driverless mode than driving in a rather comparatively lower speed. That means probably you are cautious also about other situations. For example, there can be a pedestrian or motorcycle or even bicycle appear in front of you. So for these situations, it's not easy to deal with up to now.
Professor Liu said it may take another 4 or 5 years at least for the autopilot technology to be mature and safe enough for urban streets. Part of that maturing entails collecting transportation data for autopilot systems, much like humans accumulating driving experience. So for now, it is not clear whether an autopilot system is safer than a human driver in urban environments.
香港地少人多，個技術上真係要做得好好，但我都相信未來嘅車應該係自己行。
Once the autonomous driving technology is mature enough, I would say one important application is to have autonomous taxis around the city. Firstly, that's safe. Save the cost for the human resources of the drivers to some extent. But I would say sometimes people like a human to serve rather than a machine to serve you. So probably in the future, it's like some higher level service will still be human drivers.
For now, there is not enough evidence that it is safer to let the car drive itself. But the technology is advancing rapidly, and it won't be long before Hong Kong will have to rethink whether it is safer to allow the cars to think for themselves rather than leave it to us, humans.